Meat munching. About to watch Dead Meat. Dr. Sleep 2019 kill count. Never heard of this. So let's see what it's about. Well, the Dead Meat theme is actually lucky fire.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. Today is a special day, because we're looking at Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining, released in 2019. This movie means so much to me, I don't know where to begin. I've been a Stephen King fan my entire life, thanks to my dad, and read the 2013 novel Dr. Sleep when I found out a movie adaptation was being made. I enjoyed the book, but I had a few issues with it. Mostly, I feel like things were just too easy for the protagonists. That's not the case at all with the movie, which I actually enjoyed more than the book. But that's no big surprise.
That's actually kind of crazy, because most people that watch movies that are adapted from books always say they prefer the book more. Everything. Harry Potter. Everything.
It was written and directed by Mike Flanagan. Flanagan's been working in the horror genre since his feature debut in 2011, Absentia. Since then, his work has included the well-regarded Ouija sequel, the Karen Gillan starring Oculus, and the phenomenal Hush, which he made with his wife Kate Siegel, and which I previously covered on the Kill Count. He's also responsible for the Hauntings of Hill House and Bly Manor series on Netflix, as well as the fantastic Gerald's Game, based on another Stephen King novel that was once considered unfilmable. But he made it filmable because Mike Flanagan kicks ass. I am a big stupid fan of everything he does, because he always writes characters you care about and uses the camera in the scariest way possible. I should probably take a minute to disclose that the first time I saw Dr. Sleep was on a paid trip from Warner Brothers that took Chelsea and me to the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, and allowed us to interview Flanagan and his longtime producer Trevor Macy. The experience is still the coolest thing I've ever gotten to do because of Dead Meat, so sure, you can say it helped prime me to like this movie. But I also love Dr. Sleep because it's a really good movie. This is a director at the top of his game, giving us a vast tapestry of unique visuals to look at while we explore the magical world of The Shining. There aren't a lot of horror movies that truly feel epic, but I can safely say Dr. Sleep is among them. It sets up a bunch of characters all across the country, lets you get to know them, then intersects their stories in combative and tragic ways, all of their lives linked by the ambiguous psychic power known as The Shining. Though it follows a grown-up Danny Torrance, played by Ewan McGregor, psychic power known as The Shining. Though it follows a grown-up Danny Torrance, played by Ewan McGregor, what's great about Dr. Sleep is that it's a unique and original story. This movie would be amazing even if it wasn't a Shining sequel, and for the first 2 hours of its runtime, it mostly isn't. The final half hour is a huge reminder of its source material, and is probably the weakest part of the film, but it's still an impressive feat considering that Flanagan had to serve 2 masters.
As a fan, I felt for a very long time there were 2 visions of The Shining that seemed to be in competition within the minds and hearts of a lot of fans. The Stephen King Shining, and there was the Kubrick Shining.
The man pulls it off because he's a goddamn virtuoso. I consider us all lucky to live in a world where Mike Flanagan makes horror movies. One last note, I'll be using the theatrical version for the Kill Count, but I've also watched the director's cut, which adds almost an entire half hour of extra footage. And guess what? That version's even better. So expect a cut comparison in the next few months. 2.5 hours is still plenty of time to kill people, though. Let's see how many.
Let's see.
The movie begins by telling you it's a sequel to The Shining.
They have is fire. Because of the music.
It's already won me over, I'll be honest. In 1980, a young girl named Violet, played by Violet McGraw, young Nell in The Haunting of Hill House, encounters a flower-picking singing lady who might make a good friend.
Well, hi there.
Yeah, that's friendly. This is Rose the Hat, played by Rebecca Ferguson, in a fucking phenomenal performance. And what's with the hat? Don't worry about it, it's her hat. Rose is doing a trick for Violet when she hears a noise from the woods.
Don't worry, that's my friend. You're missing the trick.
Yeah, Rose the Hat's got a lot of friends, and they're here because Violet is special, as in the house special.
It's the special ones that taste best.
Rose grabs Violet's arm and her posse swarms the young girl, killing her off screen. If you're glad it was off screen because it was a little kid, I've got some bad news for you. But first, some good news. Title card! We're back at the Overlook, and though things may look familiar, every frame of footage in this film is a new shot. Except for 3, which I'll point out later, but just think about that. Flanagan had to recreate the entire Overlook interior, which, if you remember number from The Shining kill count was a big friggin' deal. What Danny Torrance saw in room 237, namely Mrs. Massey, the naked ghost lady, continues to haunt him even after escaping the hotel. She and other Overlook ghouls have been harassing him at home, even hanging out in his bathroom when he's trying to take a tinkle.
Where are the parents of these kids?
Little man. Oh, they couldn't hold it. Thank God Wendy's there to give him a soggy pee hug. Danny hasn't spoken since the Overlook incident, but that changes when the ghost of Dick Halloran shows up. The least he can do for that guy is have a conversation. I mean, he was the one who taught Danny what the shine is, after all.
And someday, Danny Torrance, you'll teach someone else.
Since this story focuses more on the shine than even The Shining did, Dick's got a lot of shine-splaining to do. He says the shine is an energy that can be used as food by dark things, like the Overlook. And since Danny shines brighter than anyone he's ever seen, the Overlook ate it all up, nom nom nom. And if you're still confused as to what exactly the Shining is, it's magic? This crucial scene continues as Dick tells Doc how to beat the spirits haunting him. All he has to do is make a lockbox in his mind, and he can use that to trap all the ghosts inside. This conversation is taken from the Dr. Sleep book, where it plays out a little differently. After all,
in my book, Dick Halloran Lives, Kubrick's movie, Halloran Dies.
Given how important all this shine's-position is, I remember wondering how it'd be accomplished in a sequel to Kubrick's film. I even pondered as much in my Shining kill count. Dick Halloran survives in the book. He's also alive at the beginning of the Dr. Sleep book and kill count. Dick Halloran survives.
Damn, pack that boy. So it's about like...
He's also alive at the beginning of the Dr. Sleep book, I'm curious to see what they do with that in the Dr. Sleep movie. In the end, it was a simple fix.
And what Mike did was to bring him back as a ghost, which makes perfect sense in the context of the story.
And more evidence that Mike Flanagan was the perfect person for this job. I also loved his approach to recasting these iconic characters. Carl Lumbly sounds just like Scatman Crothers, and Alex Esso does an excellent Shelley Duvall-esque Danny out.
Down.
But Flanagan didn't just want imitations. He wanted a continuity of character, not necessarily of actor. So it's fine that Roger Dale Floyd doesn't look exactly like Danny Lloyd. You can still tell it's Danny Torrance, just like you can tell Alex Esso is Wendy.
It's
always a great thing when people are passionate about what they do.
To fill. I think
because
that
then you know
Shelley
they love what they
Duvall's
do.
performance in that is the closest thing to a perfect performance in something.
Well, you did great, Alex. That night,
the thing about me is I'm passionate about something for a bit, and
then
the passion just goes away after some time.
And I don't mean the drain. Dan the man marches right up to the rotting naked woman and shows Mrs. Massey his mind box, which she does not find pleasant at all.
Oh no, he's tortured her.
Damn, Doc's a big kid now. And 31 years later, in 2011, Doc's a man! A man who gets into bar fights and wakes up next to naked chicks. Whoa, that naked chick, Deanie, is played by Chelsea Talmadge, who was Steve's shitty friend Carol in Stranger Things.
Stranger Things is a great show.
Has left Dan pukey and poor, so he decides to steal cash from the sleeping woman. An immoral act that just got a whole lot immoral. The ghost of Dick appears and chides him for stealing from the mouth of a hungry babe, but it doesn't stop Dan from leaving with the cash. In a Long Island movie theater, a man meets with a young woman played by Emily Allen Lind, who we've seen as Melanie in the Babysitter movies. The 17-year-old actor is playing a 15-year-old named Andy who uses her uniquely persuasive powers to put perverts like this guy to sleep.
Sleep?
Andy steals the guy's money and permanently shames her predator by carving a snakebite into his face. But Snakebite Andy's powers can be used for so much more, which is why Rose's Lieutenant Crow Daddy has tracked her down for Rose to admire in a shot referencing another Stephen King adaptation, The Green Mile. Though Snakebite Andy's powers are strong, they're not strong enough to let her escape Rose's attention.
You want to let me go? No, sweetie.
They're gonna kill her?
No, I don't.
Now we're in the Granite State. I told you, this movie's sprawling, where Abra Stone is celebrating her 5th birthday with her parents Dave and Lucy. The birthday girl can't help upstaging the magician, shocking her parents when they find out that she's made all the spoons hang from the ceiling. But it's hard to eat a good meal hanging upside down, so Abra drops the utensils, and the resulting crash stirs a drunken Danny awake and gives Rose the hat a shiver that puts a smile on her face. Not that she wasn't happy already. I mean, she did just pick up a pusher.
You can push people.
Rose wants Andy to push for them, and in exchange, she'll provide a whole lifestyle, one that will allow Andy to age so slowly, she'll still be a teenager in a few hundred years.
Eat
Damn.
well, stay young, live long.
Laugh love. Wait a minute. Andy's brought to the beach for a ceremony where she meets Rose's crew, including Grandpa Flick, played by Carol Struyken, who was Lurch in the Addams Family movies and fucking terrifying in Gerald's Game. Andy lies back into Rose's crotch, which reminds me that they made love in the book, and with a sermon from Flick, the group agrees to tie Andy's life
I don't know
theirs,
what's happening in this
the True
movie.
Knot. To induct Andy into the True Knot, Rose breaks out a thermos full of violet shine, which they call steam. Ready to get steamrolled, Andy? All right,
they're doing
shotgun,
whippets.
little buddy. Andy breathes deep and undergoes a terribly
They're doing
painful
whippets.
process called turning that knocks her out. When she wakes up, it's to daylight, illuminating the True Knot's caravan and their whole boho chic vibe they got going on. You know the True Knot rolls them RVs into Burning Man every year. Rose welcomes Andy to her new life with the Knot, and when Andy asks if she's still human, Rose says it doesn't matter.
Do you care?
Why did she do that? I
After hitting
have
rock
no idea.
bottom,
That's
Dan
the
takes a
ceremony.
bus north to a town in New Hampshire called
That's the ceremony.
Fraser. That,
Fraser,
in a
Smoking Joe
hilarious
Fraser.
camera reveal, has a
I smoke
smaller
on the
version of
mic like
itself
Smoking
in the
Joe
town
Fraser,
square.
the
It's called
Hellraiser,
Teeny Town,
raising hell
built
with
by
the
neighborhood
flavor.
kids and overlooked, no pun intended, by Billy Freeman, a wonderful man played by
Yo,
Cliff Curtis.
he looks
who's done a ton of
he looks
shit,
familiar.
including Deep Rising, Fear the Walking Dead, and The Meg. Billy sees that Danny's
dude
a
looks
stranger
familiar. He's in a
and
lot of
recognizes him as a man in need, so he hooks him up with a sweet loft to stay in, one that's already furnished and has a chalkboard wall. Nice.
Why are you
85 per
doing
week?
this?
That is hella cheap.
You don't know me.
No, I don't. But I know the look.
I'm glad that Dan's found a new friend. Because
$85
it's
a
hard
week?
to have good
That's like what?
conversations
85
with
times
people
4.
like Dead Dee,
What is that?
who only ever wants to talk
Yo.
about how dead she is.
They haven't found us yet.
I'll take Deanie's word that her and her poor baby have died of overdose and starvation. Their bodies still rotting. With her and her about how hard to have good conversations with people like Dead Deanie, who only ever wants
that
to
the girl
talk
he
about
stole
how
the money
dead
from?
she is.
They haven't found us yet.
I'll take Deanie's word that her and her poor baby have died of overdose and starvation.
Is that
Their
the dude
bodies
he
still
took the money
rotting
from?
where Danny left them. And if you don't want to see a dead
No.
baby, don't look, because that is one creepy baby corpse.
No.
Aw, no!
That's his fault,
The encounter
man.
nearly drives Dan to drink, but he instead hits up Billy, who immediately takes him in, because Billy's the fucking best. He takes Danny to an AA meeting run by Dr. John Dalton, a character who's
Yo.
much bigger in the book. Good call for the adaptation, but it's too bad we don't get more Bruce Greenwood, who is Gerald, he of the game, as well as the only man good enough for Joan Holloway. Dr. John gives Dan his day one token, as well as a job opportunity in a scene shot just like Jack's interview at the Overlook. Since Dan says dying people don't really bother him, John gets him a job at a hospice as an orderly. He works there with an
Why
adorable
at a
kitty
hospice?
named Azrael, and
Why does a
taking after
hospice?
its namesake angel of death, as he always knows when a patient's about to go. Not a bad last sight to see, I suppose. Dan comforts
fire.
this guy by saying dying's just like going to sleep, and that earns him the titular moniker.
Back to sleep.
Doc may not have a PhD, but he does have the shine, which he uses to soothe the dying man as he leaves the land of the living. On his way out, he exhales a bit of steam, because remember, Dick said that everyone's got a little shine to them. Most of them just don't know
Everyone's
it. Of course,
got a little
Dan's
shine
got a
to
lot
them.
of shine. And now that he's in New Hampshire, his shine is discovered by the nearby Abra, who writes to him on his chalkboard and giggles that she's found someone special like her. With a job and a
Damn.
pen pal, Dan's able to remain sober for the next 8 years. Cause we just jumped some
That's
time,
fire.
motherfuckers, and now it's 2019. He's still doing his Dr. Sleep job, assuring dying patients
That's
like
fire.
Charlie here that there's more to life after death. And while we don't see Charlie die, I'm still counting him because Azzy never lies, okay? She's a good kitty. Over the past 8 years, Dan and Abra have kept up occasional communication, keeping both of them in higher spirits than the members of the True Knot, who nowadays are looking a little worse for wear. Stop coughing on my burger,
getting
Grandpa.
older.
God! The Knot has been going hungry,
I don't-
hungry for steam.
blah, 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 blah.
since
This
that's what
movie
these
is
shine
very confusing.
vampires
It's like
need to sustain themselves.
Crazy
We
lore.
feed on children. We eat
That is insane.
the steam.
Crow Daddy's been trying to track them down some food, but is worried there's not as much steam in the world these days.
There's so much
He
lore in this
says it
movie
might
I don't
be getting
understand,
dulled
bro. I
down
don't understand
by cell
this.
phones and Netflix. Crow's played by Zahn McClarnon, an actor of Hunkpapa Lakota descent, who was also Hansi in Fargo Season 2 and the subject of
So
the
much
single
lore,
best
bro.
hour in Westworld. Love seeing him here. appear as an evil love interest. Although the Knot's steam supply is getting pretty low, Rose breaks out a canister to help the ailing Grandpa Flick. And sure, the rest of you can get in on it too. Go ahead and huff this kid dust. To re-up their supply,
like
Rose's been
drugs,
tracking
bro.
a shiny Iowan kid named Bradley Trevor, played by Jacob Tremblay, who we saw in The Predator. He's a real talent on the diamond, as explained by an onlooker played by Danny Lloyd, who was the original Danny Torrance. Lloyd had only ever played a single other role after The Shining, and instead of acting, he became a biology professor in Kentucky. Unfortunately
That's
for
cool.
Bradley Trevor, OG Danny ain't the only one in attendance at this game. While walking home, Bradley is approached
Why
by
is
the
he
True
walking on
Knots
his
van,
own?
and Snakebite Andy slithers into the boy's brain,
Why is he walking on
convincing
his
him to
own?
come with them. They take
Oh,
him
no,
out
he's
to an
dead.
old abandoned plant and tie him down to the ground for a memorably horrific scene wherein Jacob Tremblay gives a devastating performance.
No, please let me go.
No, that sounds real.
Please.
His cries don't work on Rose, who
That
tells
sounds
him the
real.
more afraid he is, the better his steam will taste.
Are you gonna hurt me?
True to her word, she begins torturing the child to provide her family a feast. It is truly difficult and disturbing to
Damn.
watch. And although Jacob Tremblay was just fine
Yo,
filming the scene, it
they're
wasn't as
smoking on
easy for
people's
the
souls,
people
bro.
playing his assailants.
The actors playing the True Knot, who had been full of swagger before the camera rolled, was like, yeah, we're gonna go kill this kid. We're the monsters. We're literally so shaken that they had to step away from the set.
The incident is
Damn.
so powerful that Abra
Crazy.
intercepts it, and she screams in concert with the baseball boy, begging his attackers to stop. Rose senses Abra's eavesdropping, and the connection gives the girl Danny Torrance face. But before you can start thinking about future meals, Rose, you've got to finish the one in front of you. They kill Bradley Trevor slowly and painfully,
Oh my
making the
God.
most of their meal and saving the last little bits for later. Bradley's torture does a number on Abra, who has a
this
conniption
is
in her
like-
bed and blows a psychic blast towards Danny's chalkboard. She has to let him
Bro.
know about the red rum. Meltdown. While burying the baseball boy, Rose tells Crow they had a powerful onlooker spying on them all the way from the East Coast.
You're saying someone looked in from 1,500 miles away?
With power like that, the Knot may have found a whale, someone with so much shine it could feed their family for decades. Abra finds the
That's
baseball
crazy.
boy she felt getting murdered listed on a missing children's page online. Using a printout with powers kind of like Eleven's, she's able to see the whole road trip he was forced to go on, including
Damn.
exactly which plant his murder took place at. Fuck, I love
Damn.
the overhead shots that are in a weird
Yo, how many
frame rate.
vans
It
do
looks
they
so
have?
cool. This is one of the movie's many strengths, creating visuals just as fantastic as the powers in this world. The wondrous sights
Bro, it's so
continue as
crazy
Abra
movie, bro.
looks
They're
for the
smoking
murderers
on
out her
people's
window.
soul.
And when she doesn't find them there, well, she just drops right into their bodies. Because now she's somehow an observer inside Rose the Hat. Rose feels the psychic intrusion and looks into a reflection, allowing her to use the connection as a two-way. That gives her a glimpse of Abra's current view and even allows her to interact physically, though not for very long.
Damn.
Get out!
Oh my gosh, she's hella
Oh,
strong.
you were at the grocery store, Rose.
Damn.
Makes sense you found some food. Rose gets back
She's
to the
hella
Knot
strong.
and tells Crow Daddy that their onlooker has more steam than they could have ever possibly anticipated.
Is she food or do we turn her?
Great question, Crow, but Rose doesn't want that kind of power around competing with her. She'd
Damn.
much rather they yum eat her up. Abra skips school the
She
next
doesn't want no
day and takes a
competition.
bus to Fraser, then instinctively heads to Teeny Town to meet the train conductor, Dan the Man Torrance. With a brain-to-brain hello, Abra lets Dan know who she is.
So she just went
Take
to
a
another
seat
town by
on the
herself.
bench.
Are you serious?
Let's use our outside voices, all right?
She's excited to find another person who has magic, or as Dan tells her, shine.
When I was a kid, I didn't understand The Shining. I called it Tony.
Abra says the baseball boy also had the shine until it was eaten by the bad people as they tortured and murdered him. She wants to find the boy's body and bring his murderers to justice, a lofty goal for a teenager, but one that's believable thanks to Kylie Curran, who beat out more than 800 other young actresses to get this role. She
That's
does a
crazy.
great job as Abra, especially in her scenes with
800 other
Ewan
people?
McGregor.
And we're a good team, I think.
But Dan doesn't want to get involved and tells Abra to stop shining so the bad folk won't find her. It's some cowardly advice that earns him a visit later that night. A visit from a ghost! But it's just Dick, Doc, not an overload ghoul, so put those boxes away. You wouldn't want to put your dick in a box. Dick's visiting Dan
Whoa.
for the first time since he saw him in Deanie's decrepit apartment 8 years ago.
Has it been a long time? Can't tell. This world is a dream of a dream to me now.
Man, I love this scene and the way it
That
drives
dude looks
home how
familiar.
otherworldly the afterlife is. Dick tells Doc that he needs to help Abra, just like he helped Dan all those years ago. Then he says that this is the last time Dan will ever see him. And just like that, he's gone. God, that hits hard. We get another spectacular scene, possibly the film's most visually stunning, when Rose the Hat sits atop her trailer
Very
and astral
demonic,
projects herself into the night sky.
The
With
background
soundtrack
music
reduced
does
to a
not do
heartbeat
justice
and
to the
heavy breathing,
demonic
she flies high above the ground, trying
vibes
to
of
feel out
this.
exactly where Abra is. Honing in on the location, she slowly glides down from the sky and makes footfall on Abra's street. Fuck, this movie looks so cool! Oh man, and it just keeps going, as Rose hops on up to the side of Abra's house and drops in horizontally through the window. I cannot get over these effects. Inside Abra's
Crazy.
room, which is really her brain, maybe? Rose finds a wall of memories, which reminds me of another Stephen King story, The Wild-Ass Dreamcatcher. But Abra's memory warehouse is actually a hand catcher, because this was a trap laid by this
Damn.
little nightmare.
He said you'd come back.
Abra's disguise here is scary as hell to me, but I guess
Damn.
it's a reference to the Rooster Teeth anime Ruby's character, Emerald. Abra had a Ruby poster in her bedroom shown earlier, which I believe was a set deck suggestion from Kylie Curran herself, since she's a big fan. With Rose trapped, Abra invades her mind and starts rummaging through her memories to learn more about her. Rose escapes
That's
in a
crazy.
signature Mike Flanagan way, with some serious, nerve-wracking hand trauma. The effects for this degloving were done by prolific makeup artist Bob
Fire.
Kurtzman and his wife, Marcia King Kurtzman. They both had plenty of practice since they did a similar effect in Gerald's game.
It's old hat to us now how to mangle hands. We're getting really good at it.
With this, Rebecca Ferguson joins the esteemed company of Carla Gugino and Flanagan's wife, Kate Siegel.
It's an honor to have your hand savaged in a Mike Flanagan film.
Rose is able to stumble away from the trap and tumble on out through the roof, all the way
Damn.
back to her trailer, where she
That's
quickly learns she's
crazy.
not the only one there with a problem. Grandpa Flick is in bad condition, because unlike what Andy mistakenly thought she signed up for, the True Knot energy vampires are not completely immortal.
I said live long, eat well.
Since they haven't been eating well, Grandpa Flick's about to die of hunger, bringing an end to a life so long he once feasted on gladiators in Rome. I love
What?
learning about the extent of his longevity, revealed by Rose in a
That's
riveting
insane.
eulogy.
And they trembled in their villages and beds and skyscrapers.
The members of the True Knot aren't as fleshed out on screen as they are in the book, but that doesn't mean their backstories are entirely absent.
Mike Flanagan gave us a lot of creative liberties where we could come up with our own ideas for our character, which is such a gift for an actor.
It's fun to
Apron
hear how
Annie.
Apron Annie was turned by Grandpa Flick in 1500s Morocco, or how Crow Daddy was a native tracker in the
Crow
French
Daddy.
and Indian War. The costume department, led by Terry Anderson, brought a
Yo.
visual element to these histories with trinkets meant to show centuries of travel, like with Rose's beaver felt top hat, a 100 years
crazy.
old antique. But all long lives must come to an end, and Grandpa Flick dies just like all Shine vampires do, in a process called cycling. The description of cycling
Damn.
was terrifying in the book, and I didn't think it could live up to it on screen, but god damn it, Mike Flanagan did it, because of course he did. With their steam in short supply, the Knot feasts on Flick's remnants like a pack
That
of
is
hungry
insane.
animals. Things are clearly dire now, so Crow prepares to go capture their whale. And although Rose won't be joining them, since her mind library was compromised, he assures her he can handle Abra.
But I got some tricks of my own.
Abra tells Dan about her encounter with Rose.
I really hate
and
mosquitoes,
asks
bro. I
him to
just
go
got a
find the
mosquito bite on
baseball
my leg
boy's
when I
body
find-
in Iowa.
when I
Dan
find
asks
I'm gonna
Billy
do
for help with
diabolical
the task,
things.
and
LMAO.
although it's a long drive,
I'm about to
Billy's
torture
a
that
fucking
mosquito.
bro.
I hate
They
mosquito-
start
I hate
driving
anything that
west,
bites you,
with
bro.
Abra checking
Or
in on their
stings.
progress by astral projecting into the back seat. She tells Dan about her visit to Rose's mind, but when she briefly tries it with him, she sees his boxes and the overlook. Dude, your
Damn.
brain house is scary. After a full day of driving, Billy and Dan reach the plant. And even though Dan's getting directions from a teenage girl that Billy can't see, he's still supportive enough to help dig, because that's just the kind of guy Billy is. Dan's
Billy's a
proven
great
right
guy, bro.
when they find a foot. And you know what feet are kind of like? Hands. And you know what hands usually go with? Faces.
Heads.
And you know what? Oh, he puking. The unearthing of this evil rocks Billy to his core.
Alvin, what are you doing
puts
tomorrow?
his faith completely
Tomorrow,
in Dan. Abra's father,
I got a new
doesn't-
job that I'm gonna do tomorrow at a Canadian Tire Center. So that's like an event place where people do concerts, and there's gonna be a WWE show on WWE Super Show on Saturday. so I'm gonna be working at that time. I get to go into the back rooms and see everything. So I'm going to that at like 1. I want to play some soccer at like 6 with my boy. But I'm gonna stream though. I'm gonna stream for sure. What about you? Why are you asking?
I don't trust Uncle Dan as much.
Your Uncle Dan? The fuck you think you are? She's 13 years old.
Yep, that's gonna happen.
That's weird.
Using her powers, Abra stops her dad and flashes him images of the baseball boy murder, allowing
Why would
him
she
to
do that
finally
shit?
see exactly what his daughter is. Time to drink, but
Why
none
would she
for
do that?
Thanks. With Dan rightfully assuming the True Knot has ways around the police, they are millennia-old energy vampires after all. They take things into their own hands, or more specifically, Abra's hands. Since a guy named Barry briefly wore Bradley Trevor's myth, Abra uses that to peek into Barry's present and sees that an RV full of True Knotters are heading towards them on the highway.
Some days
They're
I just be
tracking
chilling,
them
bro.
through
Today I was
Abra's
just chilling
shine,
until
but
stream.
Dan's got a plan that'll trick him something good. They go to a state park for another memorable sequence, one that starts with beautiful lighting.
What about you? What you doing? What you been up to, bro? What you
With
been
Rose
doing?
spectating, the Knot eventually reaches the park and gets out of their RV to find Abra sitting zenned up on a picnic table. Snakebite Andy approaches, hissing soothing words, which calms Abra down enough to get stuck with a needle full of drugs.
Damn.
That was easy. Unless... Blast! Bested by the bunny once more. Shots ring out from Dan and Billy in the trees. And since the True Knot is also armed, well, there was a firefight!
They blocked up.
Andy
I did
books
not
it
know.
back to the RV.
Bro, they
as the
got
rest of
spiritual
the
powers.
Gunned down one...
They got spiritual powers and Glocks too?
By
Damn, I ain't know.
Rose anguishes from afar as her entire clan is killed, each of them getting shot and falling to the ground and cycling out of this world until they're nothing but steam. Delicious, delicious steam.
Fried
The minor
boys.
True Knot characters were played by Mike Flanagan regulars, most of them having acted in The Haunting of Hill House. Robert Longstreet, who was Barry, played caretaker Mr. Dudley. Catherine
Barry
Parker,
the chump.
Silent Sari, played Poppy Hill. And Selena Andrews, Apron Annie, played Luke's counselor Paige. Matt Clark, who played
That was a
Short
show?
Eddie, wasn't an actor at all, but he did work on Hill House as the set medic, his regular job.
I thought it could be fun too to have someone who isn't an actor, and Met just ate it up.
Finally,
Bro, I've been
Diesel
needing to
Dog
work
was
out more,
played by
but my
Mike
nieces
Flanagan's
came over, like,
brother
2 days in a
James,
row, so
which,
they're always
yeah,
in my room where I would
dude
work
looks
out, you
just
know?
fucking like
So
it.
it's more
Dan
if I get a
approaches
chance,
the
I'm gonna try
RV
to
door,
get
where a
productive
lack
today.
of bullets gives Andy an opening. She's
Yeah,
able
bro.
to briefly put Dan to sleep and is just about to murder with some misandry.
Fucking men.
When she's shot by Billy coming around the
Oh my
RV,
God. He
another
popped
shot
her.
takes her
But
down,
yeah, bro, you
but
gotta
she's
be-
still got
it's
enough
just-
life to push out 2 final words.
Kill yourself.
Oh no, not you, Billy! No!
No, 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 no,
Billy,
no, no,
the
no,
best
no, no.
dude ever,
No!
is killed by a suggestion of suicide, and Snakebite
How?
Andy is able to see and laugh about it before dying herself,
How?
turning into steam. Abra realizes that the crow isn't there, because turns out he's in her kitchen, needling her in the neck. True to his
Damn.
word, Crow Daddy outsmarted Abra, and in the process, killed her dad with a
Oh,
knife stab to
no.
the chest. Dan finds him later, and it confirms David's death. By the way, Abra's mom Lucy.
What was I gonna
left
say, man?
visit
Yeah,
her
you know, being productive is just a choice of discipline. It's all a choice. You could have been productive either ways. You could have gone on a run. You know, even me, I used to make excuses, and I feel like that's what people do a lot. They make excuses, and I make excuses too. But you gotta be conscious. You know, make the right choices. Being productive is all a choice, man.
sick mom earlier, so that's why she's not around. Horror fans
Damn.
may recognize actor Jocelyn Donahue from her starring role in Ty West's House of the Devil. Abra awakens buckled up tight in Crow's van, with too many
Damn.
drugs inside her to properly use her powers. McLarnon has
Crazy
his
drugs.
best
Yo,
scene
something's
of the
biting
film,
me, bro.
as he
Mosquitoes
tells
in here or
Abra her
something?
dad's dead and that it's all her fault.
We were always gonna have you. So their deaths, all of them, just a waste.
Damn, Abra,
Yeah, I know
get
I could've,
wrecked.
but
Dan
I
fights off the
guess I'll just
temptation to
evict them
drink
next
in
time. Let them know.
dismay,
Just tell
and
them.
instead reaches out to Abra. Even if she can't transmit her powers, maybe she can
Tell him.
receive him like a radio.
Tell
he
him, like, hey,
successfully
man,
tunes in to
for like 2 minutes, yo, chill out.
WABR, which
Let me
allows
work
him to
out for like-
project into the
for
back
like
of
20
Crow's
minutes.
car. The ill-defined powers of the Shine continue as Dan touches hands and transfers himself into Abra's body. Kylie Curran is great in this entire movie, but she gets extra points for how well she plays a different character inhabiting her body.
Who are you?
I'm the guy that killed your friends.
And that guy's got another trick up his
Yo, I actually feel bad about Billy though. Damn. So that girl had power to like like tell people what to do, and she told him to kill himself.
One that'll make Crow wish he had worn his seatbelt. Dan crashes the car into a tree and sends Crow Daddy through the windshield, evoking a scream of anguish from Rose hundreds of miles away. Abra, now in control again, walks up to the dying Crow Daddy and coldly tells him that she hopes his death hurts a lot. Well, I think you're in luck, little lady, because he does not look like he's having a good time. Abra receives a projected visit from Rose, but now fully confident, she doesn't let it slow her down.
All right, bitch child.
Uh-oh, Rose is breaking out the good stuff. I guess she might as well just suck all that steam herself.
I mean, all her friends are dead, so she might as
left alive to share it with. Dan and Abra reconnect and take off for Colorado. If Rose is coming for a fight, he's gonna choose the venue.
There's a place that's dangerous for people like us.
And that means it's probably dangerous for Rose, which might just give them a chance. This marks a turning point in Dr. Sleep. After an hour and 50 minutes of being mostly its own story, it's now going to very much be a sequel to The Shining. Appropriately, this is when we get the only recycled footage.
Simply.
The gliding shot over Wild Goose Island,
upper body,
and 2
lower
shots
body,
of the
push
Torrance
pull legs.
Volkswagen
What's
driving
the split
along
looking
going
like?
to the Sun Road. Flanagan took these shots and changed them from night to day and clear to snowy in post-production. It's a great bridge to the final act, which admittedly can get a little too referencey to The Shining. But I think the rest of the film earns this final act. And tell me you don't feel something seeing the Overlook again, boarded up these past 40 years. Dan tells Abra to stay lookout in the car while he heads inside the hotel to wake the place up. Once again, I am in complete awe at how Flanagan was able to recreate one of the most studied film locations of all time. You can tell it was a dream come true for him.
Just breathtaking. Every time I walk in here, I'm just floored. It's like walking into your own memory.
He spent 6 weeks building sets from the actual blueprints used for the Kubrick film and underwent what he called forensic film school as he tried to recreate iconic shots and angles. All hands were on deck to bring the Overlook back to life, down to the most minute and specific detail. Prop master Scott Nifong was able to find the exact model typewriter Jack Torrance used and recreated the all-work, no-play pages, even though they barely appear in this movie. Seems like everyone was happy to do the work, especially Mike Flanagan. Like me, he's been a King fan since he was in the 5th grade, and he clearly had a ball making this film. Dan gets the boilers running, which was part of his dad's job as winter caretaker, even though we only ever saw Wendy doing it for him. Then he takes a stroll down memory lane, visiting hallways more Grady girl-free these days, and his family's one-time apartment, including the infamous bathroom door. Here's Obi. His last stop is the Gold Ballroom, where he takes a seat at the bar just like his dad did all those years ago.
Slow night, Mr.
his dad's that dude?
Not for long, I imagine.
The bartender once again identifies himself as Lloyd, but that is #not my Lloyd. It's Jack Attack Torrance. And in case you weren't sure, he proves it by complaining about wives and kids.
A man tries. He provides. But he's
so he just became a psychopath?
Mouths. And a family. A wife. A kid. Those mouths eat time.
Did he kill his
They eat
wife?
your days on Earth.
Classic Jack. Though this scene is an original creation for the movie, Jack Torrance's spirit does appear in the book, so Flanagan always knew he'd have to cast someone for the role. Jack Nicholson was never approached since he effectively retired after his role in the 2010 box office bomb, How Do You Know? That left Flanagan with the options of recasting or doing some kind of weird digital face replacement thing a la Rogue One Grand Moff Tarkin.
It was always going to be controversial, no matter what we did.
He decided to cast Henry Thomas, who, as a child, was Elliot in E.T., and as an adult was the patriarch in Flanagan's Hill House series.
Fire.
Thomas shaved his head to match Nicholson's high hairline, and though it was a tough role to fill, he deserves major props
They just dissed that dude, bro. They said that dude's hairline is busted.
Torrance that didn't just become a Jack Nicholson parody. Although the original film's performance was basically a Jack Nicholson self-parody. Flanagan wrote this scene to convince King to give this movie his blessing. It showed the author that the filmmaker understood The Shining's themes, how the hotel was a metaphor for addiction, and how Jack Torrance was a man terrified of hurting his own family if he didn't fix himself. It was a personal story for Stephen King, who wrote The Shining when he was a practicing alcoholic.
Functional, But practicing...
Writing Dr. Sleep gave him a chance to approach the same material as a new, sober man. And this film adaptation allowed him to reconcile
Stephen King, the legend out here, man. He made it
which
and
he
all that stuff.
notoriously disliked, calling it chilly.
The biggest change that we made was to the third act, which in the novel takes place on
Do you think
the
you could
campground that used to be the site of the Overlook Hotel. And so the pitch was, let's keep the hotel alive so that we can stage that final battle in the Overlook itself. And the trade-off is, you know, we're changing the ending of Dr. Sleep, but we're changing it to be the ending of The Shining that King never got to see made.
Unlike his
3 to 5 months,
Dan
yeah, you could.
rejects the free ghost
Well, you just gotta be disciplined,
sober when
like,
Abra
every day.
sees Rose coming around the mountain.
Every
Rose
day.
gets to the Overlook and steps inside.
Less than
where she
2
gets
weeks,
a good
you're
look
reaching
at
that
the
danger zone.
world-famous blood elevators. Give them a hand, folks. That's a lot of blood.
Like, would you be
Rose
willing to?
likes it. The blood elevator
If it's something
was
I'm
one
passionate
effect
about, why not?
Flanagan couldn't accomplish practically.
But like, if it's
It was
destroying
just
my
too
body, no,
expensive
I
to
wouldn't
do
do
the
it.
same way Kubrick did.
They're gonna have
So
to
they
use some CGI or
recreated this
something.
sequence digitally.
But if it's like
Rose
more
finds
muscle,
Dan and Abra
muscle is never
standing on
bad.
the
I'm not doing no
staircase in the
steroids in
Colorado
that, though.
Lounge. And as she threatens them from Jack's super productive writing spot, they launch into their plan with 2 pairs of white eyeballs. Together, they transport Rose into the Overlook hedge maze, which, wow, looks like they've really expanded it over the years. Glad to see the hotel taking pride in its hedges. Rose follows Abra's footprints to the center of the maze, where she finds the young girl waiting to do a Mortal Kombat teleport attack.
Oh, no.
Oh, with a friggin' shame.
Slice
After
her.
a few of those, Rose puts an end to that, and is
Damn.
just about to monologue her way inside a lockbox when she realizes that this isn't Abra's mind at all. Fuck this noise. Rosie out. Sorry, Dan.
Damn.
Nice try, though.
It's Dan's mind.
Miss you.
Probably the booze. She approaches him and offers a long life of eating well and
So they
staying
only-
young.
they
His
only-
answer is
they only
to swipe at
search-
her with an axe, but
they only
he's no match
look
for
for the-
Rose the
oh my
Hat.
God.
She stabs him in the leg and tosses him down the
Ooh, I
stairs.
thought that was his
in
nuts.
An impressive fall performed by McGregor's
I thought it
stunt
was his
double,
nuts.
Stephen Atkinson. Love seeing behind-the-scenes footage like this. It lets us see the hard work put in by the stunt team led by Chuck Borden. She pounces on him and thumbs out some delicious Danny
Damn.
steam, seasoned
Damn.
by a long life of trauma.
You taste like whiskey.
She gets a tad too high off his painful memories, and when she goes snooping towards his boxes, Dan's happy to open them for her.
They're
That's
starving.
The horde of hungry overlords
Damn.
attack Rose the Hat, shunting at her face to get that sweet, sweet steam. Together, they kill
That's
her,
crazy.
which happens a bit too quickly for my liking. She's one of my favorite villains ever. But in the
They
end,
packed
she
her up.
cycles away, leaving nothing but a cloud of steam and a free
Does
half
he
for
lock
the
them back
taking.
in?
The ghosts then turn their attention back to their favorite boy,
Hello, Donnie.
and similarly swarm him too. This is when I think the movie goes a bit too far with the Shining references.
Flashing
I'm
lights for
fine with the
25 seconds.
possessed Dan chasing Abra with an axe
Oh, no,
because
he's
that
possessed?
actually comes from the Shining novel, only it was Jack chasing Danny. But I don't think we needed to hear Horace Derwent again,
Great party, isn't it?
especially after Dan already referenced that
I'm
line
so
earlier.
lost, bro. I
Great
am
party,
hella lost. I
isn't
don't
it?
even know if I'm
Abra
gonna post
goes
this,
into
bro.
room 237, home of the mossy naked lady, who was played by Sally
I don't even know
Hopes,
if I'm gonna-
wearing
if I'm gonna-
5
if I'm
hours
gonna
worth of makeup.
post this, bro.
Hilariously,
I have
she
no idea
often
what's
forgot
going
what
on.
she looked like with the nude prosthetics, and would sometimes sit around set with her robe undone, looking indecent, even though she actually wasn't.
I forgot.
Dan finds Abra, but breaks free
So
of his
he's
possession.
possessed?
Tells her to run away so he can
Blow this pop stand.
blow it up. She runs outside, and although the hotel tries to use Dan to turn the boiler off, he resists and takes a seat to watch it break down instead.
Damn.
Flames spread out and block his exit, committing him to his
dies.
sacrifice. But at least he's not alone here. His ghost mom Wendy shows up to spend his final moments
walking
with
around
him.
butt
They're
naked,
together
butt naked,
again,
I'm saying,
content,
bro.
as the Overlook burns down around them. Sometime
Damn.
later, Abra chats with the ghost of Dan, who's
Oh, he's a
visiting
ghost
her
now.
just like Dick used to visit him. He
that's
apologizes
fire.
for what he told her when they first met, that she should keep her head down and her shining to herself.
Shine on, Aberstone. You shine on.
And I think that
That's
crazy
fire.
Diamond will, since she confesses to her mom that she talks to ghosts now, but frames it in a
Yeah.
comforting way, just like Dr. Sleep himself.
We go on.
In a lesser movie, I might find this ending kind of cheesy, but here it feels in line with Flanagan's trademark tone, a kind of melancholic optimism.
There can be no horror if there isn't caring and love. That's very important, and I think a lot of filmmakers miss that, and Mike doesn't. Mike understands.
The movie ends with Abra heading to the bathroom like young Danny Torrance did. She's ready to box up Mrs. Massey as Midnight with the Stars and You plays us out. Whew, that was a big one. I think we earned ourselves some numbers. After all, that was
let me see how many people died.
Great kill count, wasn't it?
I gotta watch The Shining to understand what's happening. Because I have no idea, bro. You didn't even drink. Come on. Be serious here, man. Be serious here,
18 people
James
died
A.
in Dr.
Janice.
Sleep.
Only
Quite a bit
18?
more than the 2 kills in The Shining. There were 6 female
Only
victims
2
and
kills in
12
The
male
Shining?
victims, with ages ranging from toddlers to millennium-old vampires. With a theatrical version runtime of 152 minutes, that left us with a kill on average
76 kills? You did not count
minutes.
76 kills.
I'll give the Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill to
what is
Grandpa
biting me out
Flip,
here?
which also
Jeez.
serves as an award for the cycling in general. I just think it looks incredible. Sorry, baseball boy. Dull Machete for lamest kill will go to that Charlie dude in the hospice, though it sort of feels like cheating giving it to him.
I was trying to
Oh
guess.
well, and that's
Nah,
it.
76.
Dr. Sleep came out in 2019.
I didn't think it would
and
have
is
been
one of my
as
3
little as
favorite
18,
horror
though.
films of that year, along with Ready or Not and The Lighthouse. They all press very different buttons.
I know this dude
Once
has crazy
again, we'll get
nightmares.
this week's kill
Watching
count
all
a
these
day
horror
early,
movies.
because on New Year's Eve, I'm looking at the weird British film Bloody New Year. Until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the kill count. Thanks a lot for watching this.
Did not understand nothing, but hey, it is what it is. We like that video, man. That video was fire. You can tell James was excited for this movie because he didn't introduce himself in the beginning, though. Bro, he was so psyched, bro. Golden Chainsaw to the other one. Which one? The boy? They violated that boy. Already watched this one. This one was a fire one. I wish I never watched it so we could watch it together, but it was very cool. Zombieland, never watched that one. The Shining, 1980. I still don't know what The Shining is about. But, hey, that's the end of that. That's a 41-minute video. Crazy.